Please welcome to the Slip and Dip podcast, making the Slip and Dip debut, UFC lightweight contender, Paul the Dragon Felder, getting ready to take on James Vick at UFC Fight Night 133. So, how'd that fight come along? Because it kind of, I won't say came out the blue, but it's definitely something that should have been made a long time ago in my book.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I knew it was in the works for quite a few weeks now. So when I got called out by Dan Hooker, I already knew that this fight was a possibility, even for the exact date that we're on and everything. It was just a matter of negotiating some things, and Vic was I think towards the end of his contract and wanted to just re-up some things and handle his business. So it was just kind of waiting for things to get done. So I couldn't say anything. So especially when I got called out, everybody's kind of like, "Why aren't you fighting Dan Hooker?" And I couldn't say, "Hey, well, I already have a possible fight coming up." But I told Dan, in the bar in Atlantic City, I said, "Hey, man, I respect the call out. I think that took some guts and some balls, but there's a good chance I'm already fighting somebody, and but I'm sure I'll see you down the line."
Well, what makes you want to fight James? Because he's one of the most avoided men in all UFC. If you look at all the divisions, I guarantee you he's top 3 from what I hear behind the scenes about people that don't want to fight him.
Yeah, man, if you've looked at my career, the one thing you can pretty much say is one of the things I don't do is I don't dodge people, and I accept whoever they call and tell me. And when Sean Shelby said, "I'm going to try to get you versus James Vick," we said yes. I called Duke and Brian Butler, and they like the matchup. They think we've got what it takes to get the job done. He's ranked number 11, so it moves us up the ladder. Obviously, we're always trying to fight above our ranking, and he's got a good spot. He's got an insane record in the UFC. He's beaten some of the best guys out there. So, these fights don't get easy when you're fighting up the ranks. When you're trying to be the best in the world, you want to be champ. If he's one of the best, I'm going to have to face him someday anyway, right? So these guys can only avoid the tough fights for so long, no matter what. So I said, bring it. He's tall. He's awkward. He's one of the biggest guys in the division, at least height-wise. So it's a tough puzzle to solve. But with Duke in my corner, man, I really don't think there's anybody in the division that we couldn't have a good game plan against and figure them out.
Yeah, I mean, is that going to be the biggest challenge, you think, trying to figure out that range, that length? I mean, of course, the size, in the clinch, and, of course, just keeping you at distance if you wanted to. Is that going to be the biggest challenge to overcome, when you guys are preparing?
Yeah, it's a challenge because you see where one of the places I do really well in my fights is in the clinch and in close and using elbows and things like that. So we're just going to have to sit back and rely on some of my other strengths for this fight. I'm a really good kicker. I was known more for my leg kicks before I even got into the UFC and battering people's legs. And I'm going to just have to sharpen up my hands and head movement and be able to get in and get out of there without getting caught with his knees or his chokes. But yeah, man, every fight's always gonna have a new puzzle put in front of you, and he's definitely a harder one to figure out than some other ones, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's been a crazy few weeks for you. Everything that happened with getting the fight pulled out from under you, and then hearing, hey, you can't get slid into the spot because you're not ranked, and now you're ranked. So it's like, I mean, without even having to fight, you're ranked now. It's kind of crazy that. That the commission, I guess, puts so much stock into rankings that are the UFC's own rankings.
Here's a little backstory. That's how I met Paul. Me and Paul met right after he had got the call, and that's when we did an interview that's on Fight Hub YouTube channel, and that's how we met. Okay. So I just saw that. So I saw the disappointment firsthand. Like, man, this man was ready to roll like right then and there. It wasn't because he was scared, ladies and gentlemen. He was ready to go at Habib right there.
Yeah, I mean, that was literally, an hour after I had found out, and probably just as the media had found out that I wasn't fighting at all, and that Al would be fighting. So it was a weird situation, man. It's definitely one of the awkwardest, strangest weeks, fight-wise, that I've ever had. Just beyond anything. I mean, it caps it off just between the stuff that happened with McGregor and then. The stuff with Max, and then I get an opportunity to maybe fight for the title, and my hands were literally shaking at the idea that I might be fighting Khabib, and then okay, well, I'm probably not fighting Khabib. Well, at least I'm fighting Al. No, you're not fighting at all. So it's been tough. But I got a fight lined up. Pretty sure it's pretty much official. It's pretty out there now. I think even James posted a thing about it. I don't think the UFC has quite said anything official yet, but it's happening. We both signed, so it's going down.
Yeah. Do you agree with the sentiment that he's one of the, like, I guess the most avoided people that's kind of he's always been talking about wanting to fight up, and he just hadn't really had that opportunity as of yet. Again, he's fighting down in the rankings in this matchup with you, but do you agree with that whole premise that he's going out there with?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that people have turned down the fight with him, but I think that's just going to happen. It's happened, you know what I mean? But that's easy to say. I can say I called out Conor McGregor and he didn't take the fight.
Yeah.
Well, of course he didn't take the fight. He's not going to fight the number 14 guy or the unranked guy when he's the number one contender or the champion at the time. Same with Dustin Poirier. Like, he's a stud that's been up there in the rankings forever. I'd love a fight with that guy, but I know I'm not getting it yet. He's on a streak. I know that's not happening yet. So I can't say, or Dustin and Justin Gaethje and Conor McGregor are avoiding me. So I think there's truth to what he's saying, and it's also like he might be exaggerating it just a little bit. It's like, of course, guys that are that ranked above you are maybe waiting for you to climb the ladder before they have to fight you. Whereas me, it's easy for me to say, all right, bring that fight on because you're above me. I gotta take what I can get at this point.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to ask you a little bit about your immediate reaction when Dan Hooker did call you out like that as you're trying to conduct an interview. I'm sure you're just trying to listen to the normal responses and get ready for your next question. I'm sure you got the producer in here and everything, and then you're like, wait, he just called me out? Is that what the kind of thing that happened?
Well, the funny thing is, we had fighter meetings, and since he was on the main card, we met with him, we met with Jim Miller and all the guys on the main card. And as he was leaving his interview, Brendan Fitzgerald was like, hey, man, if you beat Jim, you better call out Felder in the cage. You better man up and go out there, and you got a ranked guy right in front of you. You better call him out. And he just kind of laughed it off and walked out. And, man, as soon as I was going into the cage after he knocked out Jim, I looked at everybody. Sean Shelby was next to me. I said, I guarantee this dude's about to call me out. And I walked in there. So when I said, what's next for you, Dan Hooker, what do you want next? I knew he was going to be like, well, I want a ranked opponent. And he just, the way he went about it and handled it, though, I thought it was pretty cool. It was he wasn't a douchebag about it. He wasn't an asshole about it. He's just like, hey, there happens to be one right here. How about we do it? And I meant what I said too. If I had sat down at that desk and Sean Shelby said, I love that matchup, let's make that happen. I even texted my manager as I was at the booth doing the commentary, and I said, what do you think? He said, I like that fight, but I don't know if that's what they're going to want right now. Because we weren't sure still if James was going to take the fight because I was lower ranked. We didn't know what was happening yet. So I thought that might actually be plus I do agree it would be a sick fight. You want to talk about two guys that we're definitely going to kickbox with each other. It's going to be a show.
Yeah. But I'm sure. Go ahead, Kendrick.
Do you think in a weird way, with your TV gig combined with what happened at 223, it kind of helped you further your profile? Because it seems like I'm seeing you pop up on the Slip and Dib, you up on with Ariel's, like your profile that got bigger in a weird way. It seemed like it's a negative that you didn't turn into a positive.
Dude, I gained like 5,000-6,000 extra followers on Twitter for not fighting. My Twitter followers went up tremendously. I get more social media attention and things like that. So and I got ranked. So it's like, okay, well, you got to take the good with the bad. And at the end of the day, I mean, I still made some money. It didn't go down the way obviously as a fighter and a competitor, it didn't go down the way I wanted it to go down. But it was it is what it is, and I think the UFC handled it the best they could with the situation they were given with losing so many fights on that card. They had to save that main event. I don't blame them for anything. Yeah, I mean, it worked out. And now I've got a high-profile fight. I've got a game opponent in James Vick who's tough as nails. And, I think people are excited about this fight. It's definitely the fight that's going to push one of us that much closer to top 5 fight and, moving towards that title.
Yep, absolutely. So this would be your, your first fight this year, obviously. So, I mean, obviously, you wanted to have the other one. and then it falls out. I mean, how many fights are you looking to have in 2018? Or does it depend on, obviously the health and results? Or
Yeah,
do you
obviously.
map that kind of stuff out?
I do map it out. I do like to, obviously, if I'm healthy. I mean, cuts and scrapes and bruises don't slow me down, but, God forbid there's no serious injuries. I usually have fought since I signed with UFC. I've fought like 3 times a year consistently. And this year unless I get in there and really get a quick KO or something like that, I think it's going to be 2 this year.
Okay. How tough is it to balance, your commentary gigs with your training and still trying to climb that ladder at 155?
Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of that stuff can be negotiated. Like they're aware that I'm fighter first right now until I retire. So if I call my producer and I say, hey, man, Sean just called me, they want me to fight in July, and I had shows booked that I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be doing Santiago, Chile, and a desk job in LA for Liverpool, and I had to turn them down, and they were completely supportive of all that stuff. I'm still going to be doing Utica, New York, just because I have teammates on the card, and my coaches will be there, so it'll be a fun trip to go, and I'll be able to train with everybody while they're there and still do the commentary. But it's not as difficult as everyone thinks. And when I'm away, I'm only away for a few days, and I'm training all week, and all the weeks that I don't have this stuff, that's all I do is commentary. And when I'm home, I'm training 2-3 times a day, all the time. I mean, I'm in great shape right now. I'm ready to fight. I'm not ready to make 155 right now, but I could definitely fight 3 rounds right now. But it's not as hard. It's very relaxed with my bosses that set me up with those shows. I can always, if I have to pull out of one, they can get Jimmy Smith to jump in there. They can get Dominic Cruz or Daniel Cormier to jump in and take the job.
Paul, with you being on the media side, what do you think about this deal? People don't realize how big this deal is going to be, good or bad, whatever TV deal that the UFC get. What do you think is going to happen? Because a lot of people don't realize that's like the elephant in the room that can change people's lives for the better or the worse, depending on what happens.
Yeah, I still don't know all the details about everything that's going on, but I know that a while back when guys were, getting nervous, not knowing who they were going to go with and what networks we were going to be on and what the deals were going to be like and who was going to be doing commentary, and if the UFC was going to be still using their own production staff, or if the network that chose them was going to use their in-house production staff. And so I think a lot of people were a little nervous, but I haven't heard any more about that. So I think everybody's still keeping their jobs, as far as I know.
I would certainly hope so. I mean,
yeah, me too.
If we ever get to a point to where there's not fighters in the desk or on the booth, like, I think that's starting to go in the wrong direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that definitely hurts the brand, man. I think that's one of the things that's been making them go in the right direction. Is trying to do a lot more of that lately and bring us in and have us be the analysts. And I think the longer and older this sport gets, you're going to just start seeing more retired guys be doing it instead of the current active guys. But there's just not as many. The sport hasn't literally been around that long. It's not like baseball and football where you've got guys that have been retired and out of the game and they're the analysts. It's like there's still sports started how long ago? You know what I mean? It's like
right.
So we'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's kind of the good thing is that a lot of the guys, current fighters, you guys are very articulate. You speak well. You're able to analyze accurately. If you just to compare in like boxing, there's a lot of boxers that do the commentary and analysis. They're not as good at it. Like there's a lot of stuttering, a lot of misinterpretation of what's going on. It's somewhat cringeworthy sometimes. Pretty much every UFC guy that's doing it, guy or gal that's doing it, I mean they know their stuff, and I think that's a huge plus too.
Yeah, I've heard some of that boxing commentary that you're talking about, man, and I'm like, not trying to throw anybody under the bus, so I won't say names, but the one guy I was like, whatever you just said, that did not just happen. Nothing just happened. They asked your opinion, and it was like you weren't even paying attention. It was a shame, man. But it's tough. It's a lot harder than people think. They think, it's easy to do this or it's easy to do that. And the people that piss me off the most are the people that troll me and the Twitter haters out there that are like, you suck as a fighter. suck as an analyst. What gives you the right to be talking about what's going on in there? I'm like, I have almost 11 UFC fights, just UFC fights, not to mention my career before I was even in the UFC. What do you mean? What am I talking about?
Yeah. Meanwhile, those same people would be like, "Hey, Paul, can I get a picture?" when they see you.
Those same exact people have me sign 14 pictures of myself so that they can sell it online.
Yeah, exactly. Have you caught somebody doing that and called them out on it, like in person?
No, I haven't figured out, which one of those guys that kind of hang around, if any of them are shit talkers yet. Most of the guys that I sign stuff for and things like that seem pretty cool. But I've had guys on Instagram and Twitter that I've said shit back to and called them out, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm a huge fan. I was just having fun." And I'm like, man, you're a coward and a bitch if that's how you're gonna react when somebody calls you out.
Has anybody ever tried to test you since you know how quote unquote the UFC fighter look?
Yeah.
Does anybody test you or they know real quick like, hey, he about that life?
Yeah, I mean, lately it's been pretty good. I don't even want to say, I'll say knock on wood, because next time I go out, I'll probably end up having guys try to start some crap with me. But no, I mean, it's, not recently. Not recently.
That's good. Paul, how much weight do you cut usually?
I mean, right now, I've actually been, since I didn't actually fight, I was actually pretty good at keeping myself within, I won't say a good range, but better than I usually am. I've gotten up to about 197 pounds in between fights, and that's me not looking good. Like, you'd look at me and be like, God damn, Paul looks a little husky. He's looking a little, double chin kind of coming in, and love handles, and looking a little fat. Right now I'm like, in the mid to high 80s at the most. But I'm leaned up with a six pack. I'm still probably about 181. 181. So
okay,
it's a tough.
It looks like you're cutting weight right now.
I know. I got my hood up. I'm sitting in here.
Yeah, one of my big things is, like, I always talk about it, is the weight cutting issues with guys cutting too much weight, and how much thought do you put into that, and do you have a solution to kind of solve the issue with guys cutting so much weight? My only thing is, I wish guys would really try to focus on their diets leading up to the weight cut. I cut a lot of weight, but I do a lot of it honestly with dieting and keeping my calories on track and getting down to a reasonable water cut. Like, I always make weight. I've had a bunch of fights in the UFC, and my whole career was at 55, and I've always made the weight no problem. It sucks every time, but I've never had, especially since signing to the UFC, I've only had one scare where it was like, I don't think I'm going to make weight. And recently I've brought on George Lockhart to do my stuff for that last fight, and I've always had Rich Poehler, my strength and conditioning coach here in Philly and Jersey, and he's really good. He's also a nutritionist guy and really helps me if I have any questions. So I've always been good at really just watching what I eat. I don't cheat real bad. I don't drink at all. I don't do any of that kind of stuff during camp. And I think guys kind of wait to the last minute and try to just be like, "Oh, I'll suck out all the water." Mm-hmm. It's not good, man. And they do that so they can get bigger a lot of the time too. They only want to be depleted for a day. And this way, when you go to rehydrate, you can put on 25. Some guys putting on 30 pounds, and but you're killing yourself. Yeah, absolutely. What is it about George? I hear whenever somebody brings George on, it's like a complete difference in everything. So what's kind of, I mean, not necessarily his secrets, but what's like the major difference when guys bring George on? It seems like they have a lot easier time with their cuts.
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed for me was the food that I was eating was, I used to do more of like a ketogenic, high-fat diet towards the end of my training camp, and it worked. And the guy Scott that I used to use, he's the man, and his approach is that, and it works. But for me, when I switched over to George, the one thing I noticed that the difference, so the weight came off pretty much the same, but my energy levels were humongous, a big difference. I mean, I was hitting pads and getting good grappling sessions in fight week at the actual hotel, doing full rounds feeling pretty good during the weight cut, and that's never the case. I'm normally feeling pretty crappy and pretty sluggish. So whatever he's doing, whatever science he's using with a little bit of food, because you're not eating much food. I mean, he's not giving you these huge, giant meals, but whatever I got, it would always be enough to get me going, and I felt good. I still had enough carbs and enough like fruit sugars and things like that to get me through workouts, but I wasn't holding on to massive amounts of water.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's the big difference, I guess? I mean, cutting down to 155 as a fighter, like, do you feel that big of a difference on the fight night? Like, let's say if obviously you fought your whole career at 155, but like in the training room, like, a few weeks out, you may be, I'm guessing, around like 170-ish, around that, a couple of weeks out, or?
Yeah, 2 weeks out, I'm probably still in the high 70s, maybe 180.
Okay.
So to fight at 70 I would feel ideal at cutting the 170. 65 or 62 would even be. I'm probably a natural 162 pounder. Like what would that be in boxing? 61, right? 61 plus a pound.
I'd be like middleweight. Middleweight's 160.
Middleweight, right?
You be fighting Canelo and
middleweight.
Triple G. You be fighting the Canelos and the Triple Gs in the world.
That is middleweight, yeah. But I'm their size. If you saw me stand next to Triple G, I guarantee I'm probably actually bigger than Triple G. I'm not saying I hit like Triple G. I don't want that. I don't want you guys tagging that on the post. Felder says he can take Triple G. But, that's definitely my natural weight class. But it goes up to 70 instead. So 60-something, I would still obviously have to diet and cut weight. I mean, I'm nowhere near 161 right now. But that's when I start feeling the weight cut, is from 65 or 63 down. That's when I usually start my water cut. And that's when it's like, this sucks.
Yeah. I've cut weight a couple of times, and just when I used to compete in jiu-jitsu, and it's
awful, man.
Yeah, I did it a couple of times just to see, one, how tough it was, and I just don't understand why guys do it. Like, you hear guys cutting 30, 40 pounds, I'm like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing? It's got to be affecting your performance. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, I wanted to change.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure we're all fighting. Not complete. I mean, I was probably 85%. If you have a really good rehydration, there's no way. No way with any dehydration the night before you fight. There's no way we're all getting up to 100%. But I think, if everybody's doing it, at least your opponent. I know Vick for sure is doing it.
Yes.
At 6'3", that boy ain't walking around at 155. That's for sure. So
he cuts a ton. I'll tell you this.
So at least in this fight, I know he's in the same damn boat. When I'm sucking that water out July 13th, I know he's in a hotel room somewhere else doing the same damn thing.
Yeah, so I covered the Austin fight night, and he fought on that card. And James is our boy. We've had him on the show a couple of times, and weigh-in day, he comes on the scale, and he's obviously looking like Skeletor, right? And
yeah.
He steps on the scale. As he comes around the curtain, he's stripping down, he's like talking to himself. And everybody's like, who's he talking to? He's talking to himself to try to psych himself up. He's like, these guys, they're not as focused as me. They can't do this. Like, I put in all the work. He's talking to himself the entire time. When he gets on the scale, gets off the scale. So it's like, man, you got to really
mental, man.
Get yourself in that space to hit that scale and cut so much weight. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I do when I'm sitting in the tub. I start trying to think of all the things in the world that are worse than what I'm doing. Like, you always hit that point when you have a few pounds left. Is usually when most of us really, 5 pounds and down is when it's okay. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want a glass of Gatorade or water or whatever drink George makes us. I want it right now. And for me, I think about my dad a lot, who passed away from cancer, and that's what gets me through it. I'm like, man, I saw the shit that cancer patients go through and people that are sick. I'm sitting in a warm bath right now, so I got to just suck it up and get through it. So, but it does. It's terrible, but it has a short memory. I forget it. I forget how awful it is as soon as I make weight and I fight. So I forget how bad it is until July 13th rolls around again, and I'm sitting in a sauna or a tub again, and I'm like, wow, Fuck, man, this is horrible. Every time.
Hey, win or lose though, can we get you to say you're gonna come back on and give us a breakdown regardless of what happens?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm good about that. And win, lose, or draw, I can man up if I lose, but I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be us chatting about a badass victory and moving up them rankings. But yeah, for sure, guys.
Hey, we have a segment for that. You ball, you get the call. So we look forward to giving you that call. You ball, you go get the call.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, man. Well, best of luck to you, man. Taking on James Vick on the 14th.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one, man. That one's gonna be, it's gonna be a pick'em.
Yeah, it's hopefully we're walking with one of them extra checks at the end of that night.
y'all not main eventing though, right?
No, not main event. I can't say anything yet, but I'm hoping something else. Hoping next in line, so we'll see.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully we're co-headlining, but I don't think any of that is set in stone yet.
It's your first fight in Idaho, huh?
Yeah, first time in Idaho. First time in Idaho.
How much does the location of the fight matter to you?
It really doesn't, man. Obviously, I was really tallying to get the main event spot on this card because it was an FS1 card, and it was, I don't want to say it wasn't a small, it's any fight the UFC put on, they're great shows, but it was definitely one of the smaller cards and in a new location, so I thought it was a place that we could convince them to give us a main event spot. So I was really pushing for this particular card, or the one in August. Where are they going to Nebraska in August? I think too.
Yeah, I believe so.
That where they're going? I was pushing for that one too, just because I know that the FS1 cards in smaller cities that haven't had them yet, they're not going to put a huge title fight or something like that. So I thought that would be a good chance, but it doesn't. I'm in the hotel the whole damn time, cutting weight, then I fight. By the time I'm out of the fight and actually doing anything worth fun, it's usually back at the hotel lobby having a drink with my teammates and coaches. So it really doesn't matter where it's at.
Yeah, very cool. Well, July 14th is the date at the CenturyLink Center in Boise, Idaho. Kind of a crazy location, but hey, UFC Fight Night 133, Felder versus.
First time there, man. I like that it's the first time there. It's always exciting to be It should be pretty packed and have a good vibe. When you're in places for the first time, those people are usually there from Fight Pass on, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, hopefully
Pretty
the crowd's
cool.
hot, man. Hopefully the crowd's hot, because we definitely hear that. That definitely comes through on the broadcast.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, while you be out there cutting weight, I'm gonna be in LA at the ESPY Awards.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
living it up, having fun.
I'll be grinding out there in that heat. The thing about the ESPYs they don't tell you is you be on the red carpet at 3 p.m. in hot July in Los Angeles. That's the part they don't tell you about.
Yeah, sweating.
Sweat.
You'll be cutting weight too then.
Really? I'm gonna looking clean though.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, we won't keep you too much longer, man. We thank you for coming on the show. But again, best of luck to you against Vick, man. A hell of a fight. I'm looking forward to it. Any sponsors or anything you want to shout out before we let you go?
Oh man, just thanks for having me on. Always follow me on Twitter at Felder Paul. Same with Instagram at Felder Paul. Give me a follow. Let's get those followers up. And thanks to my team. Obviously, can't wait to get out. Going to be going out to Milwaukee soon with my boys out at Rufus Sport. And I also this Wednesday is my daughter's 3rd birthday, so I just want to
happy birthday,
on here with you guys say happy birthday to my beautiful little girl Ashling, who had her party yesterday. So, and it was a pink party, guys. Lots of pink, lots of trolls.
Hey, I wasn't trying to get you in trouble with your girl. I'm not texting Paul. It's like, I'm at the birthday party, man. I'm not trying to get in trouble.
Yeah, right. I was like, sorry, dude. I haven't been trying to. We've been running around getting all the food, the catering, and everything like that. It was a lot of fun yesterday. It was a good time.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, happy birthday to her.
Thank you.
Is she going to be a little martial artist as well, or?
She will be Sunday. She is such a girly girl right now, though. I mean, it is Barbies and pink and dresses and purses and shoes. I can't believe it. I mean, I knew it when I got a daughter. I kind of hoped it would be like that. As a daddy, I was like, I would have been fine if she was, a little bit of a tomboy in a sports, but she is so like, get her nails done, fake puts makeup on me, and it's a nice contrast for what I do for a living. You know, I'm around martial arts and fighting and grinding all day and getting beat up and testosterone, and then I get to come home and she's running around with a pink dress on and putting headbands and crowns on me and things like that. So it takes me out of the chaos.
Well, be sure to teach her those elbows at least, you know, for when those guys start coming around.
Oh yeah, she'll be able to throw down. The anger's in her. She's my daughter, so. It's in there.
Very cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on, man. We'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for coming on the Slip and Dip podcast. Really appreciate it, man.
No, I had a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.